Hello and welcome to Arts Anatomy. I'm your host, Darcy Love, and joining me today is the wonderful Christina Borgs, a graduate of Toronto Film School, born in Arizona but raised in Guelph. She started her career in graphic design originally, but soon moved her way over into film production and has since joined the IATSE 667 and is now working as a camera trainee full-time, and when she can, she does camera operating and cinematography. Welcome, Christina.
Hi.
The anticipated question, what was it like working on the Saw franchise?
Well, without saying too much, it was my very first rotation in the union, and it was a great learning opportunity, and I got to dip my feet into how it is being in the union, and yeah, good learning opportunity without saying too much.
For sure. And was it a little bit daunting working with such big actors and such a big set as one of your first experiences out of school?
Yeah, well, previously I did work on Odd Squad and stuff. I did have like a year in the industry already on bigger sets. But yeah, definitely, I think just like with the label of it being a union job, it's already like, there's more money invested into it, that there's more on the line. But what's great about the union is my position is a camera trainee. So I'm given the opportunity to learn. I get to go on the job and just learn. And there's no pressure at times, but you feel the pressure definitely.
No, that's awesome. It seems like it's a really cool way to get your hands on set and be working with huge crews. I want to jump back a little bit though and talk about what got you into film before film school, before your graphic design course. How did you find yourself knowing that film was a career you wanted to do?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really know if it was a career I wanted to do. I knew it was a passion that I enjoyed from a very young age, storytelling and whatnot. I think the very first time I realized I loved storytelling was, I think I was about 10 years old, and I tripped over my chair in my room, and I ended up making, like, with my little point and shoot camera, a whole series about this chair. And it was just so, it was just a little thing I was doing, a little tiny project. And then I showed it to my parents and my family, and they just like laughed. And for the first time I realized that something I can make can like, bring emotion out of people. And I guess that kind of triggered my creativity all through high school. I've always been more into like the video side of things. And then I did a co-op when I was in grade 12 with Rogers TV. And that got me more into like the broadcast side of things and seeing how it is to work with, to do live interviews and live sporting events. And then every summer between college, I had a job at a racetrack where I was a camera operator in a really high tower. And yeah, I've just kind of always been around cameras. And then when I decided that I wanted to make the move from graphic design into a career that I would enjoy more, to be honest, it was like a one-day thing. I was just like, I'm going to go to Toronto Film School. And then next thing I knew, I was at Toronto Film School.
And so what was your experience like at film school? I know that it can be a bit of a debated issue in the industry, whether film school is worth it or not. But do you find that for you, film school was worth it?
Yeah, I'm definitely the type of person that kind of needs some sort of like foundation to start my growth in any field I work in. So like even like if you're starting a sport, you know, I usually like having a coach to teach me, and then I can build on that myself. So Toronto Film School was like those stepping stones. It was the foundation of like the very like basics. You realize once you're in the industry, like how much more you learn from actually being on set. And so, yeah, definitely for me personally, I enjoy getting like the education and then moving into working in the field. But that's not saying that there's not other routes that other people can take. So it's kind of the way that like however an individual wants to approach their career and stuff.
For sure. Everyone's journey is a little bit different. I do want to remind everyone who is watching, if you've got any questions for Christina, please throw them in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. I do want to know if you might be able to talk to us about your decision to join the union. You know, I know that there are a lot of people who go out there and try to make it on their own, and some try to join the union. What was the reasoning for you behind joining the union?
So I think on a personal level, when you're starting something new, it's the best way to approach it is getting as much exposure to it as possible. So the union, it gives you the opportunity to be on many different sets and work with many different people who've been in the industry for like decades. And it gives you that opportunity to work with them and learn from them. And yeah, I'm taking this year as like, well, because I'm a trainee right now, but hopefully I'm going to be upgrading soon. So I'm taking this like time as a trainee just to like absorb everything I'm learning and figure out what's the best way I want to be an AC in the industry kind of thing. So back to your question on why I joined, basically just more exposure to bigger sets, higher budget sets. Yeah.
So can you talk to us a little bit, for those who might be starting their career, their journey, what was the process like? Was it difficult to join the union? Was it easy? What was it like, the process of joining?
So I would say like the first step of the whole process was establishing you want to do it, because definitely it's not going to be a job for everybody. That's for sure. Like the hours are much different than how the hours are when I was working in indie jobs. But what I did personally was I talked to as many people I knew in the union as possible, and I figured out where they are in their career, and I tried to see if that was something I was interested in. And then once I did that, you just look up like how to join the union. And there's like a criteria you need. So a certain amount of hours, you need certain amount of reference letters, and some sort of post-secondary education, whatnot. Basically, you gather that all together and get it in before the due date, and they determine an interview day for you, and you go in an interview, and then the union decides if you're right for them. So first step is you making sure it's right for you, and then they see if you're right for them. And then after that, you get your first call, and you just kind of show up, and it's the scariest thing ever, but you just kind of do it.
Yeah. Speaking of scariest things ever, we have a question from Alex Matt, who is about to start his first day or his first week at Toronto Film School. And he wants to know, how did your first day go? He's a little nervous himself. And yeah, he wants to know, how did you find it? How did you cope?
I remember being nervous for that as well. That's for sure. I just remember sitting in a class full of people and nobody's talking to each other because we're all just really nervous. Everybody's in the same boat. So remember that when you're starting off. And I just remember them talking about like everybody's backgrounds and stuff. And like, I felt like my journey at TFS was always like, I always felt like I was very new to the whole film, and like I never really like made short films before school, um, except for my like little YouTube channel I was doing. But just kind of go in open-minded. Everybody's in the same situation as you. You're gonna do great. Like, it's the first day of your career. Just think of it as that, and always maintain a professional demeanor throughout. You know, you're not there to party and stuff. You're there to like start your career. So you'll do great.
I think that's a good advice. And speaking of your time at school, you finished with an incredible short film called Ripples. That, if memory serves me correctly, won you the Best Director at the Toronto Film School Festival of Films. Can you give us a little, maybe brief synopsis about what Ripples was about and how you got the idea?
Ripples was about a tumultuous relationship between a man and a woman, and the concept was fueled from kind of like past experiences and a mixture of that's a good question. I'm trying to like remember exactly what inspired it, but I remember initially since I'm coming from like a DP perspective, the initial thing was I wanted to shoot by a pool. So after so many different scripts I was writing, and Michael passed, he would like read through all of them and say, you can do better, you can do better, you can do better. Finally, it like literally hit me, like Ripples hit me in the middle of the night. It was like my metaphorical way of expressing this tumultuous relationship between a man and a woman. And it was by a pool, and it's just like the deep end of the pool, you know, getting thrown into the deep end of the pool. It's all really metaphorical.
I think a huge thing for me when I was watching it was the fact that there was no dialogue. What was the decision kind of to keep those characters silent for the majority of the movie, and to tell the story just visually without needing to have dialogue?
Yeah. Well, I'm a hopeless romantic, and I think love is a universal language that can be understood without words. So that was basically what I was going off of with that.
That's awesome. And so what was it like then being able to finish this movie that kind of was the metaphorical end of your time at TFS and a literal end of your time at TFS, to see that all come together and see it on the big screen?
That was probably way more nerve-wracking than the very first day of school. I can tell you that. Every single screening, I feel the exact same way. I feel like a piece of my soul is up there on the screen for all these strangers or classmates or whoever to watch. Like, I feel so vulnerable. So it's actually a very nerve-wracking feeling. Yeah, Ripples, when I screen Ripples, like when there's lots of people, my heart's pounding through my chest. So I thought that was going to change. I thought that was just the first screening, but it wasn't. It was like every single screening that's in front of that many people. It's like,
So questions come in from Melly B. Rondo, who was also in our graduating term from the acting program. She says, "Hi, Christina. When writing your own shorts, do you have a particular creative process that you go through?"
Yeah, I'm going to resort back to what I learned in school. Firstly, I wish I could like backtrack to that other question when you talked about like school and stuff. And I felt I would not have made Ripples if it wasn't for school. Like, they definitely walk you through the whole process of the thought process of like, what's your story, and then how to write your story, how to build on your story, all the pre-production, now how to crew up for your story and make it. So it is a huge process. I guess for writing it wise, though, just kind of finding your story. I think like once you find your story, just getting it on paper, starting there, jot notes, getting the block of like what you think you want to tell, and then from there going into trying to put it into script format. And then everything else kind of just dominoes, like crewing up and like finding people who are passionate about your project like you are. That all just comes with if you're passionate about your project. So writing it down, just write your ideas down, I think is the best way to start.
Yeah. Now you can give yourself a real quick plug. Where can people watch Ripples? Is it available online or is it still making its way through festivals?
No, it's available. It's on Vimeo. You could probably Google my name and then it'll pop up. It's the only video I have on Vimeo at the moment. Only public video I have on Vimeo.
So what was it like coming from camera work and DPing and ACing to being the one that was totally creatively in charge as a director?
That was tough. And I think the toughest part, which Darcy, we've talked about this before, is like when you have to be your producer and director, it's like you're not only like you're literally the captain of the whole ship. Like there's no, oh, this is too expensive, you can't do it this way. It's like, no, like I want it, I got it. You know, it's like you're doing it all. You're financing it, you're doing all the creative side. So yeah, like as a DP, you're always working for your director. Like you're trying to get your director's vision out there and you're bringing all these people together to get the job done for this director's vision. But when you're the director, yeah, it's just you literally have like full creative say. It's very weird actually. Like everybody's coming to you for questions and you're like, you have to have an answer for everything. If you don't have an answer, then people are going to lose confidence in you. So yeah, that was probably like the biggest thing is just like, you know, when you're passionate about your project, you'll have the answers. So you don't have to worry about that. But being passionate about it is very important. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think for me as well, passion is key, and finding those people around you to help support that vision. Do you find that kind of coming out of school, you found a group of people that you like working with who help support you in your vision when you're DPing or when you're directing?
Definitely have found people that inspire me. But I'm always working with different people. I know I have like specific crews I prefer working with and stuff. But I'm very open, like especially as a DP, like you got to kind of just be out there with everybody. But definitely you do have your like go-to people. You're like, oh, like when it comes to the gaffer, like, yeah, like I have this person who, you know, we work well together. So yeah, you do have your go-to people.
And speaking of cool crews that you've worked with, just before the union locked down, you were working on a pretty cool all-female crew. Can you talk to me about that experience?
Yeah, it was like a majority female crew. It was for a feature film called I Was Lorna Bobbitt. And yeah, like based on the content and stuff, they want to hire more females to make sure that the actors are comfortable and like the whole content, like it was very sensitive content. So that was a lot of fun for sure, because I'm used to being on the other sets I was on, like my first 2 rotations, I was the only female in the whole technical department. So that's grip, lighting, grip, electric, and camera department. I was the only female ever. So this was the first time I was working with other girls, and it's cool because you realize it's really, the job isn't, like it doesn't matter what gender you are to do the job. It's just about how good you are and how efficient you are at doing the job. And that being on that set really taught me that. And it gave me like that extra confidence that's like, yes, like this isn't something that's going to hold me back. That's all. Yeah.
Do you think it's important that there are sets of all-female crew to allow people like yourself who might be the only person of their gender, the only person of their color on a set, to show them that there are people like you out there and that you can have these role models?
I think balance is key. I always think balance is key. The more diversity you have on set, the more perspectives, the more views you're gonna have on set, and overall, it's gonna be more beneficial to have more diversity on set.
For sure. So Ripples was kind of your directorial debut, and since then you've been working in the union as a camera trainee and doing some cinematography and camera operator work on the side. Do you picture yourself coming back to direct more films in the future?
Yes, I do. Anytime soon, not likely, based on like where I am in my career right now. But I have like a lot of stories I still like really want to tell. But I definitely have like a different standard of like budget and like how I want my sets to be run. So it's something definitely that I want to do, but just later in my career, I think, right now.
Of course. And you've had experience on commercials, low budget indies, huge Hollywood sets, and indie shorts. What's your favorite to be working on?
It's interesting that you asked that because it's changed since graduating school to where I am right now. That right when I was out of school, it was always like, oh, I want to be on the bigger thing, bigger, higher budget. Now I'm like, I want the passion projects. Like I love seeing people who love doing their jobs. So I find people are more emotionally invested when it's a smaller passion project, like because they've obviously taken on the job because they see something in the project. They're not just taking it for the money. So yeah, the passion projects right now are where I'm at. Like and then the other thing is like, I always love working with the sinking ship crew. The ones I worked with on Odd Squad are like, I love them so much. And they're like a younger crew. And I feel like they're kind of like my day ones. And I feel like I learned a lot on working on Odd Squad before I joined the union. And it's like now coming back with like the little bit of knowledge I have from the union, like I feel like I'm even better at like my job with them. And it's cool because we're all kind of growing in our own journeys. But then once we come back to work together, it's a good experience. So I like working with them when I'm a crew member, but yeah, DPing for sure. It's like passion projects. I love them. Like budget's good too, but like
yeah, it's nice to be able to afford the movie, but I think there's something special about kind of just pulling things together and hoping for the best and having to do the best with what you can. When you don't have the budget for the big film cameras and the lighting rigs, when you have just one person who's passionate. I think another big debate in the industry is, especially at least in my perspective from the camera department, is film versus digital. Do you lie strongly one way or the other for what you like to film on?
I'm probably not the best person to answer this question, just simply because I haven't shot with film before.
Is it something you hope to film on one day?
Yes. Yeah, I definitely like I shoot film like stills, but I have yet to shoot a movie on film before. But like looking, like I like the look of it. Like there's nothing. I remember the first day in film school when we got to turn on that camera, the film camera, and just hear it like ticking. Like it's cool when it's like an actual physical thing happening. But then when I like look at like the realistic side of things, there's a lot that could go wrong. And like as a DP, I couldn't even imagine if it's like I put my heart and soul into shooting this thing, and then, you know, maybe one of my assistants accidentally flashed the whole roll and it's all gone. And it's like, I know accidents happen, and it's so on a safe proofing side of things, like digital is definitely, it's you know, you have the system and it works, and that's why we've moved into that, and we've moved away from film. But I want to shoot with film. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like it's a whole experience. It seems very like novelty and stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'd like to remind everyone that if you have any questions for Christina, drop them in to the chat. We will get to as many as we possibly can. In the meantime, Christina, do you have a favorite moment you could tell us from sets, either those low budget indies or the big Hollywood sets? Have you got any moments that stick out that kind of made you think, yeah, this is what I want to do with my career?
Oh gosh, I gotta think about that one a little. I guess to be honest, I don't know why, like the first thing that came to my mind was on my birthday last year. So the past few years I've been on set for my birthday. Usually like it's like really like low key, like nobody even knows about it. It's just like your birthday's kind of ignored. But on Odd Squad, I had like all of the little agents came out with my cake and stuff, and they like came out and wished me happy birthday. And then I was like, this is like a family outside my family, like these people. And yeah, I love like you're spending so many hours on set with the crew and the actors, and you really become like a family with them for that little bit of time that you're shooting with them. I think that's my favorite part of set. So I'm a very personable person, and like it's really nice that it's not just like that office job where you like show up and you have to keep this like I don't know, office relationship. It's like literally like we're spending hours together. They know everything about your life to a certain extent, and like, you know, but you're working together, you're making a movie. Like it's really interesting. I love it. It's fun.
Yeah. I think for me that's one of my favorite things as well, is just how close a crew can become. You know, you really do become a small family, and it's nothing else I've really ever experienced, you know, in any jobs. I think it's pretty incredible. So what is some advice that you have for people who are just starting their journey in film? You know, they might have just started school and they might be looking at going to film school. What is your advice to them?
I guess I'd say figuring out what part of film you like, because there's so many different aspects to it. There's like the financing, producer side of it. There's the directing, writing side of it. There's the cinematic, like technical side of it, and kind of pinpointing what you like. Because once you figure that out, you can put like all your energy into being the best version of you that you can be in that position. And it took me a while to figure out that I liked camera department and the technical side of it. Like I'm pretty sure up until second term, I was ADing at the time and trying to be a producer, but that kind of changed
what was it
later on.
Yeah. What was it that clicked that made you think, I don't want to be an AD or producer. I want to be in the camera department. This is the place for me.
To be honest, it was like every time I was on set, I was constantly watching what the camera department was doing. And I was like, it always seemed like that prestige position, you know? I was always like, oh, like they get to be like holding a camera. They get to be getting the shot. Like they get to be in the room during every shot, getting the shot, making sure it looks great. They're just so involved with what's happening, like the camera department as a whole. So that's when I realized I was like, and I was very nervous at first because, like I said, like I sat on my first day of class, I sat and I heard what everybody else, like their background and like all the things they've made and shot and whatnot. And I was like, oh geez, like maybe I shouldn't be a cinematographer. Like maybe like I'm too underqualified, but it's more just like, if you love it, do it, and you will find work and you'll find your own career path. It's really hard not to compare and use other people's points of references as your own points of references. But it's really important that you're an individual and your journey is different than another individual's journey. Just remembering that is really important.
So do you think that there is anyone of any age can get into film? Because I know that I realized quite late, I wasn't into film from a technical point growing up. I just liked going to the movies. Do you think this is a career anyone can join at any age?
Yes. And yeah, I think so. Definitely when you're in a more physical position, it's going to be harder. It's going to take a harder toll on your body, like the long hours, the physical toll that takes on your body. And so but I wouldn't say that you can't do it if you're older either. I just think it's gonna be different than like a young 20-year-old like lifting boxes and stuff and like carrying the camera and lifting it. It's completely different for somebody like that as opposed to like a 50, 60-year-old who is trying to do that and start off as a camera trainee. I think it is important to be a trainee when you are physically fit and like if you're physically fit. Because I don't want to put an age on it. I don't want to do that. It's definitely not age. It's physical ability.
I think it's passion. Personally, I think it's passion.
Yeah, like a mixture of passion, especially for the storytelling side of it. You can do that at any age. 100%. Tell your stories. 100%.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself 5-10 years down the line?
Hopefully upgraded by then to a second AC in the union. Sorry, excuse me. And then working to advance myself as a cinematographer outside of the union, making sure I'm doing more camera opping gigs because I'm hoping to be a camera operator in the union. I'm still deciding if I want to pursue and try to be a DP in the union. It's kind of different politics and dynamics as a DP in the union than an indie DP, from my perspective. And I'm not sure if that's like the type of job I want to do, but I'm watching like the operators. They have like a very ideal, like a great job, and I'd love to do that. So kind of pushing myself to operate outside of the union, and then I'll most likely be a second AC in the union at that point.
So how does one go about upgrading themselves from a trainee to a second AC? Is it just the amount of hours? What goes into that?
So hours, and I believe there's hours and reference letters. So it's not only you showing up and doing the job, you have to show progression, and you have to people have to like you and think that you're ready to be union. Like union is like its own like little community and family of itself, and you're working so hard to every single job's a job interview, so you're progressing and trying to prove to them that you're like, yes, I'm ready to be second AC. I'm ready that you can hire me. You can trust that I will get the job done. So yeah, it's all about like, you got to do your minimum 6 rotations. And then after that, you hand in your letters, just like you did when you applied to be a trainee, your reference letters. And hopefully you have reference letters. I'm not sure. Yeah, you can't get it. I'm pretty sure you can't. do it. Like you can't upgrade if you don't have people recommending you and stuff.
So networking is still a key component
Always.
in the union.
Yeah.
Always, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think this industry like is networking. It's all how you present yourself to people and showing that you have the passion and that you have the drive and the work ethic.
Is there a style of movie that you haven't had a chance to work on that you really want to jump in on?
Comedy, which is like my thing too. I'm actually surprised that I haven't done any comedy. Comedy is definitely something I haven't like been able to explore, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, hopefully in the next little while you'll get a chance to work on some big comedies now that things are starting to kind of get back into the swing of things. And that kind of leads me on to the next thing I want to talk about is how are you finding that the landscape of the industry has changed now that we are coming out of lockdown and different sets are starting to be allowed to come back?
Yeah, I've only been on one job since COVID, and the family aspect hasn't changed. People are still, in positive spirits and stuff, but it's just like, you gotta be more sanitary. I feel like our industry is like the opposite of sanitary. Like even how we do like our lunches where it's like buffet style and our snacks we eat, it's all, yeah. And then how like, you're marking actors, you're kind of like really close to them. These are all things that now we have to think about that we never thought about before. I don't know how it's going to be like on a union set. Like I know they have some starting up. It's kind of just something, just like the first day of school, you're just gonna have to jump into and just see how it goes.
Yeah. Do you think that we are going to be able to jump into safe sets from a socially distanced and sanitary perspective? Do you think it's something we can achieve?
Yes, I do. Like for sure, you're going to be making like a lot of changes. I'm pretty sure like the trainees won't be able to go from this job to this job to this job, like little task. I mean, during your day-to-day work, it's going to be more planned. Things are going to be more planned out, I think. I don't know. I really just need to go on set and see how it is because it's kind of hard to imagine the changes that are going to be in place. Like we've only talked about it. We've talked about like the protocols that are going to be in and stuff. Distancing, I think, is possible, especially with like the equipment we have now, like remote heads and stuff. I'm pretty sure they're talking about that too, like having operators more on the wheels as opposed to like physically like holding the cameras, and that's a way of distancing. And then I know like the mandatory mask wearing is important, as difficult as it is sometimes, like doing physical work with a mask. It's a small sacrifice for keeping your crew members healthy,
For sure.
So.
We are coming close to our time for today, so I just want to ask you one more question, and that is, what is your advice for someone who is thinking about joining the union?
Seeing if it's your path, like if it's something that you want to do. Don't just think of it as like, oh, this is like the best like level of accomplishment if you're a camera assistant or whatnot. Like think of it more as like, is it the type of job you want to do for the rest of your life? Because it's a career choice to join the union. And I get that you have like the security, financial security and that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you don't like your job, what's it all for? Like, what's the point, right? Like those 16, 18-hour days are going to be way worse if you hate your job than if you're like, at least I love my job, this is fine, kind of thing. So making sure it's right for you. Talking to a lot of people in the union is very important. Like, ask questions. Everybody is so open to talking about it. Everybody's so kind and welcoming. Make sure it's for you. Yeah.
And how did you go about finding someone to talk to about if the union was right for you when you were doing your research?
So I think the first time I bumped into union members was when I worked on Disasters at Sea. And the way I got that job was from another job, which I'm trying to think of like what led me there. I can't even remember how I really got on Disasters at Sea, but basically, yeah, there was union members on Disasters at Sea. And they were the very first people who were like in union, and they talked to me, and they actually both ended up being my letters of reference. And that was the first time. And then the next time I was actually an operator for a short film, which pretty much all the camera crew was union members. Different union members would jump on and off. So yeah, those were like the two big shows, or like the two shows that, other than, because the thing is, when you're asking for a letter of reference and stuff, you want it to be genuine. So you want to make sure that you're actually working with the people for a little bit of time. So even though you might have like a one-off commercial where there's union members on that, like, they're not going to be your letters of reference. They need to know that you're consistently a certain way in order to be able to give you that letter of reference. So getting on shows, I guess, getting on shows is going to be the best way to do that, and just keep hustling for that next show kind of thing.
Oh, for sure. Well, I want to thank you for your time today, Christina. This has been great, great interview. I've loved learning. I've learned some things about the union myself, and
Good.
I wish you all the best in the future career. I'd also like to thank Cody Martin for the use of our theme song Euphoria, as well as the Toronto Film School for hosting Arts Anatomy. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you find your podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in.